Welcome back to the Real Triathlon Podcast. Today it is myself, Garrick Loewen, with the one and only Jackson Laundry. Yay, clapping. Woo. Actually, I think we might be able to do this.
Nice. Yeah, me. Going back to defend my 3 years ago title at Oceanside this weekend. JK.
Yeah, man.
I wish.
Oceanside this weekend. I am pumped because I think the last race I watched, Lionel beat Rudy in a sprint. And that was pretty epic. That was that for the win? Or yeah, it must have been for the win, right? Like that's what everyone's
Must have been,
talking about.
which is why there was, so much attention about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was Jackson's last big win.
First
Unless I'm
big win,
forgetting
arguably.
something. First
First
big
and
win. Well,
last.
I feel like your first win is like the big. Like every time it's your very first win, it's like it's
Yeah.
a big win, right? So after that, then
Raleigh.
that is like
Yeah, but
a big
Raleigh was
win.
like, Raleigh was pretty good. Awesome to get the first one. Mont Tremblant was a pretty big one too, I would say. Because
Yeah,
it was
that was like Jackson has
it's like the
arrived.
Canadian
kinda.
race,
Yeah, but I remember Raleigh when you threw your sunglasses, and that was like pretty. That was a pretty epic moment. That
That
was
was good times. Way back in
what is it? That's
2018.
core memory for me.
Nice. So yeah, Oceanside, we got the North American opener of the Ironman Pro Series. So obviously going to be a big draw for attention for media. They've always got like the full coverage at that. It pretty much feels like they've always had full coverage at that race for some reason, or at least for a long time they have. But that one seems to be. Do you think that's like the most viewed 70.3 typically outside of 70.3 Worlds each year?
I think so. There's always so much hype for it, and it's kind of funny because it's just another race on the series, but it's so popular and everyone shows up. Now, obviously with the Pro Series, it's different. It's the first Pro Series race in North America, so that's big. But it always gets big names, and this is definitely probably the strongest field that's ever been assembled there.
You think? Let's check it out. Where is the start list? Do you have it? I know that
cannot.
you've got the Norwegians, you got Lionel, you got Rudy, and you've got some short course. Was Van Riel on it as well? I'm just trying to find it.
Van Riel is not because he is going to be in Singapore.
Oh right. Let's pull it up.
Oceanside. Here it is.
Ironman Pro Series. Yeah, it's always a big. Here we go. Lionel Sanders, Patrick Lange, Christian Blumenfeld, Gustav Eden, Rudy Von Berg, Ben Canute, Braden Curry, Colin Shook, Chris Lieferman, Justin Riel, Cam Wirth, Sam Appleton, Joe Skipper, Magnus Manor. Let's see if there's any big names of guys. Obviously, we got our boy Greg Harper on there. And Colin Shook, who I mentioned earlier. I don't know. I'm going to play devil's advocate a bit here and say that this is actually weaker start list than we've seen the last 2 years.
Really? Even
I
with
think so.
We got the three big Norwegians showing up.
3?
Well, Christian Blumenfeld and Gustav Eden, and then I include Kasper Stornes as a big Norwegian because he's tall.
Oh, he is there. I missed that name. Okay, yeah. He's also really good.
Yeah.
Okay, so that definitely beefs it up a little bit more. It's sometimes hard to like pick up all the top names when there's like 75 names, and a lot of the top guys, if they haven't raced much lately, they'll just get put near the bottom of the list, or if they're like more of a 70.3 guy. But I still think like there's always a lot of depth. I mean, it's strong. Of course it's strong. I'm not trying to say it's not a good list, but
I think you're right. It is. It might. I think sometimes we forget who showed up to this race, because a lot of guys, especially the full distance guys, they're just getting their season started and they're kind of just picking up points. So like a Chris Lieferman who finished, I know he probably cracked the top 10 last year. Joe Skipper.
I think Lieferman was actually like sixth. He had like a good day there.
Yeah, but it's one of those things that you kind of just forget they're in the race because all the coverage is always focused on the battle for the front, which last year was you, Lionel, and Sam.
Yep.
And but on the women's side, man, like everyone is. I scroll down this list, and it's just like, I don't have the same depth of knowledge in the women's race as I do in the men's, but like I scroll down and it's just there's a lot of name recognition here, like heading all the way down to Victoria Lopez all the way down there. I'm looking at the PTO site, so these are the rankings. And like,
oh yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
I mean it's
Melanie
strong.
McQuaid
Cameron
down
Jewett,
there,
Paul
just
Finley, Jackie Herring, Danielle Lewis, Alice Alberts, Grace Alexander, Lisa Becaris, Steph Clutterbuck, Kaida Kibioha. Yeah. No, these are all like, there's a lot of top women in this for sure. So, be interesting to see how it plays out. Former RTSer Tamara Jewett there taking on fellow Canadian Paula Finley, Jackie Herring. Yeah, it's a good one. It'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. No Taylor Nibb, so that changes the dynamics a little bit for sure. Potentially could play out similar to how it did in 23 when Tamara won it. Little bit more of like a pack at the front, maybe, but we'll see. Paula Finley's obviously going to try to kind of assert her strength on the bike and get away. So, how do you think that's going to play out? How do you think that's going to play out, and how do you think the men's is going to play out? Because typically there's a bit of a chase group with Sam Long, Lionel Sanders, myself, kind of working our way through, and a couple others, Justin Riel, although he often make the front group on the swim anyway. But we have Cam Worf and Joe Skipper, Lionel Sanders. Maybe they make a bit of a charge from sort of the second group. What do you think?
The Trevor Foley from the second group too.
I
think this could. Yeah, Foley is.
I think he pulled out.
Oh, did he?
Because on the Ironman list, there's no men's number 8, and that's assume where he would be.
Okay. All right, so that does change. There's a little less bike power back there. You know what? I would not be surprised if the lead group stays away. I know that's a hot take, but I think there are some pretty fast swimmers, especially with the likes of, obviously Rudy Von Berg up there, but you're going to have your Mark Dubricks and your what was that other guy's name? Really good swimmer. Can't really think of him.
Greg Harper.
Greg Harper. Yeah. So he'll be there, but you might see so they might go off the front, but there might be enough bodies to keep that group together. And
also Jacob Burtwhistle's on this list that I did.
Yeah, so I was getting to that. I think if Jake Burtwhistle kind of gets out of the water there, like if Rudy can stay away, I think Rudy can take the win in this race.
You think so? We're gonna have. I mean, it's hard to bet against Blumenfeld, right? You've got Blumenfeld, Eden probably might be there. Canute will be on the bike there, and you'll for sure have Von Berg and Burtwhistle up there all on the bike, and those are all pretty strong riders. And Justin Riel, he's a great swim biker.
Yeah, so Justin Riel, he's the other one. If he gets into that group, so say their lead group is, and I'm probably missing guys here, Justin Riel, Jake Burtwhistle, Christian Blumenfeld, Rudy Von Berg. It's game over for those guys in the back. The guys behind. It's done. And especially maybe Gustav. Gustav's kind of a wild card because we don't know where his fitness is at, and he hasn't been giving away too much on
Casper
YouTube.
Storns as well.
Yeah, Casper. Like I said, I'm probably missing some guys, but there is going to be like a fairly good amount of bodies near the front that might be able to pull that race closer together. And we have seen that happen in the past. Even Lionel's been 90 seconds off the front before.
Yeah, I think for sure it's going to be tough for those chasers to catch in. I think you might see them make up time in the last 20K when you're done the hills. The front group knows, okay, we're not dropping anybody else. That's always what happens in Oceanside is the pace is hot until the hills. Then it gets absolutely smashed in the hills. And generally
Okay.
that's where it splits apart. And then the gaps just blow up through the hilly sections. And then in the last 25K, it's pretty much flat. A little bit of a headwind usually coming back into transition, and the front group generally just kind of chills a little bit because it's like, okay, we're not dropping anybody. Nobody really wants to just work super hard at the front, except last year because Sam Long thought Helly Geens was in our group still. He was just crushing it the whole time at the front, and that's why our group got such a big lead. Uh, but this year, you might not see that because most of the guys in this front group are probably going to think they can outrun anyone who catches up anyways. So that's where I think we'll probably see Lionel, maybe if, Lionel and Joe Skipper sort of Cam Worf group are together, maybe they start bringing back a little time in the last 25K, but I don't know. I don't think they'll catch up, but we'll see. This is why we have the races, because on paper, it always plays out differently than what you think it'll play out
Yeah.
once you get to the race.
So my hot take is Rudy can win it. I think he has a chance. Obviously, the favorite is Christian, and if he gets off the bike with Rudy, most people are going to be backing Christian. But I feel like Justin Reale, he's going to take another step this year, and he is going to be so motivated on that bike to stay away. He's going to keep the hammer
True.
down.
He'll go to the front.
Yeah.
He'll go to the front in the last 20K.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on, Justin, if you're listening, you got to freaking just haul ass the last 20K and just don't let anyone from behind have a chance.
So there's a hot take for that. In the women's race, you have to think like Paula's strategy is definitely going to be get away on the bike, and stay away from Tamara get away as far as you can. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure she's going to ride hard, try to get away. Like you said, Jackie Herring there too. She can be kind of like a bit of a ally for Tamara in my view when they swim together, because Jackie's typically a little bit of a stronger biker, but like Tamara can hang with her sometimes. And then if Jackie can hang with Paula, who's a stronger biker than Jackie, then you've got, that effect of the group sort of adding up and maybe they all stay together. But you've also got Danielle Lewis, super strong rider coming from a little further back. Lisa Baccaris, super strong rider coming from a little further back typically. And then
You think Lisa's going to have the fastest bike split?
It's gonna be really close between her, Danielle Lewis, and Paula. Probably that's my guess. I think she will, because she's gonna push it right through to the end.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna back our girl Lisa for that. We've also got like Steph Clutterbuck, Grace Alexander, who are probably gonna be in the mix and making these groups a little bigger as well. Alice Alberts, like super strong ladies who are just gonna make it maybe be sort of that type of race where Tamara won, where you had a bit of a bigger group. And if she gets off in the lead group, it's hard to imagine her not winning.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, no one's going to outrun Tamara in this field from what I can see. Maybe the next best runner is Jackie Herring.
Yeah, she can run really well. I mean, it's who knows. Early season, you always get some things happening you don't expect to. People in shape that you wouldn't have thought would have been ready for a ripper, and then people the other way around where they're just kind of flat and not really fit yet. So, Oceanside's always super interesting to watch for that reason. There's always things happening that you don't quite expect. So, is it Sunday? It's Sunday race, right?
No, it's Saturday.
Is it? I forget. It's not like I've been there 3 times and it's been an important part of my life or anything.
April 5th. So
okay,
April
nice.
5th
Okay, great. I love Saturday races because I can actually follow them.
Yeah.
Not busy training too much.
Not be watching it. I will be doing the swim leg of the University of Windsor indoor triathlon. There's a name for the race, but I can't remember. It's some sort of thing.
How far? 1,500?
750 meters in the pool. I don't know why they didn't make it 800.
Because it's a sprint triathlon.
Yeah, but the bike is 10K and the run's 3K.
Okay, so I guess the swim's more important than the rest, kind of.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. So anyway, so I'll be taking part in that. Yeah, because so good buddy of mine, and he decided he didn't want me on his team, and so he kind of shunned two of us, and we're like, you know what, we're gonna make our own team, and we named our team Nate's Rejects. Because he rejected us from his team, so now we gotta go. We gotta go and beat him. You know, that's the only thing.
Nate's
only,
rejects. That's funny.
Yeah.
Come on, Nate, get it together.
We have a new
We got a
podcast
cat there.
host.
Bo.
Yep.
Wow.
Uh,
He doesn't
okay,
look too
so
happy, but he also doesn't look upset.
no. So we wanted to give a Nick's recap of his race here, but
yeah.
it was not downloading for me.
I think I've got it.
So
Here we go.
if you've got it, let's hear it. Put it up to the mic.
I got it. Okay, hang on.
Okay, we
I'm
could
beginning
not
to get the
upload
video
it
going.
into our recording here, so we're gonna have to do it old school. Jack's gonna play it from his phone.
Well, I got through Ironman, full distance Ironman, South Africa. I almost said 70.3. 2 days ago, and it was a really tough event for me. Just because it's the first race of the season, that's always tough. But the conditions, like the swim looked fine as you were headed up the first buoy. You took your left, and it was like 1 foot chop, like crazy washing machine. We all suffered. It made for a really slow swim. But during the swim, I was like, all right, let's suffer. Let's do this. This is what's up. Got out of there. The bike legs straight into the headwind for like 45 minutes with an incline. The grade was pretty max. The headwind didn't help. I was almost, good thing it didn't have any more, because like I would have been out of gears with that 58 tooth one by. Biked okay. Kind of had to make some decisions that wasn't, I knew it wasn't going to shoot my best shot there, so I kind of conserved, saved my legs, ran 3 hours, 3 minutes. Would have liked to gone sub 3, of course. We always want better. Finished 17th over a field of, over 50 men who only 35 finished. A lot of attrition at this race. Really big turnout, but a lot of people did not finish. I think I held together nutritionally. I didn't have issues like I've had in the past with low energy or gut issues or a little bit of a stitch that was like a knife. I think I used Fuel In, my CGM, the new TT position on the Ventum. Everything really came together to put together a nice opener for the year. I don't think I'll participate exclusively in the Pro Series, so it doesn't really matter. But coming to South Africa was definitely something I've always wanted to do. It was lovely. The people, the climate, the weather. It's super, super nice here. People are lovely. Can't say that enough. But that's what I went through. And yeah, if you're looking for a really tough, fun, awesome destination venue, we went to a safari afterwards and drove through this like nature preserve and saw lots of elephants and zebra, whatever you want to say they are, but it was cool. Check it out. Thanks for supporting RTS. Thanks for following along, and we'll see you at the next race, which is all that matters. What's next?
There you go. That was a perfect recap. That race did look crazy with the, like, really windy. Like, who was it? Mike Phillips, was it? Who crashed on the bike just from wind. Just the wind just, like, took out his front wheel.
That's
so
crazy.
apparently it was really challenging.
Yeah.
Really challenging conditions. And
Nick,
then,
man, huge props to Nick. I know he's been racing Ironman for 20 years now, but since I've known him, this is probably, he had the one race in Chattanooga that he raced really well, but in the heat and stuff, it didn't really show on the run, but he ended up coming third. And this is probably the most complete Ironman since I've really known him that he's put together. And I think there's quite a bit left in the tank for him, but good for him, man. Like, just a great way to start the year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously you always want more out of it, but he even said he had no lows on the run, paced his day well. And he didn't really mention it. Well, maybe he did, but he biked solo pretty much most of the ride on a super windy day. And when you got really, really fast guys at that race, just blowing the gaps up to be still, honestly, I think he was 50 minutes behind Magnus, something like that. Magnus is it's hard to believe how good he is until you've raced him, to see it in a full. But yeah, it's, it was a really good performance, and he's just going to build on that because he kind of told me after the race, like, yeah, everything was pretty solid, but the bike legs were just lacking a little bit, and we're just getting started on like the bike workouts, getting back on Zwift, like hitting intervals together and getting back to what he was doing like 2021 when he was biking super freaking strong. And that's already made a huge step, and it's just going to keep going in the right direction. So I agree. Solid race, bud. Yeah. He just got to Toronto from his travel. He's now probably waiting for his flight back to Vegas. But he had the most crazy travel ever. And I guess his luggage is lost and stuff. We'll have to hear about it next week when he comes on. But
yeah,
our boy Cody, unfortunately, had to drop out with a calf injury, which he did have leading into the race, and it was a bit of a gamble for him, whether he was going to be able to finish. But 6K into the run, he said he felt the calf already, and there's no way he was going to be able to do the marathon. So shut her down, and he's going to save it for building up for, whatever's next for him.
Man, good for him for making that call. Like, that is such a tough call to make when you travel to the other side of the world to race, but that's such a professional move to be like, you know what? It's still March. I know I traveled all the way here, but we got to plan like long-term my career this year. Or not long term, but through the year, got to pace it, because I've been in that situation and I pushed through it, and it doesn't go well for it doesn't bode well for the rest of the season. So and when you're in the moment, you want to be like, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go for it. I gotta tough it out. And sometimes it's just, as a professional athlete, and Cody, who's like a real true professional athlete who makes his living off of this, it's a good call.
Yeah, I agree. I think he was in a good position too, and was having a pretty good race. So he wasn't super down about it when I talked to him, which is great, because I think he's like pretty optimistic for the season. So good. So that's great. But so that's South Africa. Ditlev went out. Our predictions, I forget what they were. I know I said Ditlev, then Van Riel, and that was the first two. But then Schomburg was third. So
yeah, that was pretty much exactly what I predicted.
Did you predict Schomburg?
I had Ditlev, Van Riel, and Schomburg predicted. If you don't believe me, you guys can go back and re-download the episode from last week and get
You
our
said
downloads
third
up.
would be Schomburg. You're full of it.
Dude, I've known Schomburg since the first time I went to race FISU. He's been a good buddy of mine. I mean, I haven't talked to him since, but we did hang out for that weekend.
Then on the women's side, Reichman, Sanchez, who was KG
Christensen, the girl
Christensen.
Yeah, that's the lady I predicted. That's the girl I predicted to get third.
I'd never believe anything you say. Anyways, yeah,
I think Lisa
Reichman's super strong on the bike. Like, we saw her passing, and like you could see the windy conditions as she was like going by. It was actually a pretty cool shot. And then held on. It looks like she had maybe the fastest run too, so pretty dominant there. But yeah, it looks like it was an interesting race. I kind of had FOMO for sure, but c'est la vie. So I think the next thing we want to go into is we wanted to talk about our favorite workouts, just like some key sessions, interval sessions, whatever it is that we really enjoy. And do you want to do all three sports, like one workout for each of us?
Yeah, like, why not? Let's kind of go through some bread and butter workouts, stuff that gets us ready, that makes us feel like we're ready for racing, and preface whatever workout you're doing with whatever you're prepping for. I know swimming isn't really that. You don't really delineate too much from what you're doing, but definitely on the bike, just in the run, kind of what you think, where you think it slots in.
Yeah, well, all right, let's start with swim. I've got, for me, I think, and you got to be really like careful knowing where you are in your training and like how fresh you are going into this. But for me, like, the best indicator of where my fitness is for the swim, and just a set that I love to make sure I do at least a few times in the last like 4 to 6 weeks, before I am ready to race is either 5 or 6 times 400 on like 6 minutes, usually, maybe even 5:30. I know Greg loves 400s and he advocates for them all the time, but I don't think it's a set you should do too much. Like for me, even when I'm in like good shape, I don't want to do it more than like twice a month, but you can't really fake 400s for me. And that's why I think it's important, because if you're swimming well, it's possible for me that I could be swimming well for like short stuff and not so much in like the longer stuff like that. So it's like kind of like a threshold effort. And I just generally, like if I'm in really good shape, I might be down near like 452, 455. Like I want to get better than that, but that's the reality. The last few years, the best shape I've been in has been around there. But like pretty average going into any race, I might be right around 5 minutes for that set, or just under. So I don't like to do it too much when I know I'm not in shape yet, because it can be a bit demoralizing. Like, oh man, I only did 505s or whatever. But it is important to do that set and check in and just kind of tick it off, and try to do it when you're relatively fresh, because if you're not, it's just going to be a brutal set to get through.
Yeah, I hate that set. You love it and hate it. I love doing it with other people and like just really going in and like getting stuck in and rolling through the 400s. Some of the best memories I have of us like swimming together is doing that workout. 6 by 400 on 5:30 or on 6 minutes, and us like just
which is
in
about
the U of G pool.
30 seconds to a minute rest, roughly, just in case you
Yeah.
want to check where they're at. Try to get like, roughly 30 seconds to a minute rest.
Yeah. And so but for me, man, I do so much swimming on my own that I find that set doesn't do much for me when I'm alone, because I just can't maintain like the focus and the consistency that you need to perform in that set and to get what you need out of it. So anytime James gives it to me, I don't do it. And I think Greg has made me feel a lot less bad for not doing it. So swimming for me,
What do you do? 100s on 120?
that is like, for me, that I would much rather do hundreds on 120 with short rest, because that's more of like, it is a bread and butter set, but it's something that keeps me honest and keeps me rolling, and is kind of comfortable.
You can't get lazy.
Yeah, you just can't. But it forces you to be efficient too, because when I swim that set, I'm always like, so this is my set this is my bread and butter set when I'm getting ready for a race. It's 20 by 100 on 120. This is the one I'm going with. And for a long course race in particular, this is one that tells me where my fitness is at in the water. But yeah, so I try to swim the hundreds as easy as I can, and if I get through it without it kind of catching up with me and having to like really pinch or start turning the screws near the end, then I know, okay, I'm swimming well, I'm comfortable, and it's good. So I always use that set to kind of fall back and check in on. But yeah, hundreds and 50s. If I had to pick a set that is my quote unquote favorite set, it's probably 50 hard with short rest, rolling into a 200 at mid race pace, and roll through that 4 to 8 times.
That is a good one. I like that one. But yeah, I like the short pace time too, because it's almost like a bit of a hack for like getting a good workout in when you're not feeling mentally that sharp, because it forces you to like stay focused, make the times. Whereas 400s on 6 minutes, like if you just get lazy and swim a 5:15, you're still making the pace. Like you have to kind of manufacture that motivation a little bit more. So I do like the short rest hundreds as well. But my favorite version of that is when you go 5. Like I've only done this one a few times ever, but you go 5 on 120, 5 on 115, 5 on 120, 5 on 115, 5 on 120. Actually, I think I even have done it the other way, where you start with 115, so you do 3 of those sets of 5 are 115s. And that one's tough because you got to be able to recover on 120. So you have to pretty much be in like shape where your threshold pace is like probably under 115. But that's a bit more of an epic set. It's not like a bread and butter. You wouldn't want to do that one too much. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, on 120 in long course meters, starts to become pretty tough.
Yeah.
So I should do that
Yeah.
sometime.
I don't know if I've ever made it, if I've ever done 20 by 100 on 120 long course, but I've definitely done 2 rounds of 10 before long course.
Nice. I might have to try that this Friday. Actually, you're inspiring me to try
Yeah.
something different.
But yeah, I think a good, so for those,
So bike.
yeah. But one thing I was going to say, so I was swimming with Corey Belmore this morning, and we were kind of just chatting um, about kind of like what the standard is in terms of males 70.3 Ironman pro swimming. And what I said was, if you can roll 20 by 100 on 120, going 112 to 115s, that's like a mid pack swimmer in Ironman 70.3. That's kind of what they're doing. And if your base across everything is typically like 130 for short course meters, that's kind of where like most people would be. 120, 130 is like the base across whatever distance they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I think yeah, if you're doing, I'd say if you're doing 112 to 115 on 120 for 20 reps, that's probably like, I'd put that ahead of I put that as second group. Like, you're not making the lead pack probably, but you're probably in the group coming out like a minute and a half down most of the time,
Yeah.
which is, yeah, mid, like just ahead of the sort of average, I would say. You might be like top third, and it's pretty solid. You're going to be in the race for sure. And then yeah, front pack, you've got to be probably going 110s on 115.
Yeah.
So, like swimming 110s on a 115 pace time, something like that.
Yeah, 105 maybe.
For
Like,
20 of them.
yeah. That's there's obviously a few assumptions here, but that's pretty much where the standard's at for that. So, yeah, all right, let's move on to the bike. So, Jack, give me a bread and butter bike workout.
Man, so many. Actually, I don't know. I don't like our bike training. Um, you seldom ever do the same one exactly like very often because it's just the sets are long and you have a lot of different options. But pretty typical bread and butter for me is like something where you're increasing the intensity of the intervals throughout some kind of a progression. So it might be like 10-minute tempo, too easy, 6-minute threshold, 2 or 3 easy, and then 3 minutes hard at above threshold, something like that. And then you might go 3 rounds through. That's very common. Very, very common to do something to that effect. Like the other day, it was more of a build. So it was 10 rounds of 6 minutes, where the first 2 minutes was steady, second 2 minutes was tempo, third 2 minutes was hard at like above threshold. I was doing like around 400 for that, all aero, and then 4 minutes recovery. Do that 10 times through. That's an hour and 40 minutes with an hour of work. Pretty standard. And then for me, really a good way to finish off the workout is to go over to the Alp to Zwift, and you go up it at a steady effort. I've done that so many times. You do a hard interval set, and then you go over to Alp to Zwift. For me, it's like I forget, 50-minute or maybe under 50-minute effort, round of 50-minute effort at steady pace, something in that ballpark. So I usually start that at around like 275, 280 watts. And then usually I'll just keep it around there. But if I'm feeling like really good, I might build it for the last half. I might like kind of build my way up 290, 300, 310, 320, 330. But I won't like, seldom will I ever like smash it. I'm just kind of working through like a zone 3 effort for it.
It's true. He does that. I don't know how many times we've ridden on Zwift and done a workout together, the prescribed workout, and Jack's completely like, I am smashed just hanging with him on Zwift, which, the drafting is nice on Zwift because I can hang with him. Can't do it in real life very often. If I'm right on his wheel, I can, but not legally. And then I'm just totally smoked, and I'm ready to cool down. Jack's like, I'm gonna go do a steady effort up out the Zwift, and I'm like, how the heck are you gonna do that? And then, yeah, obviously it shows on race day. So for my workouts, I like to do it kind of the opposite of what you do. I like to do a nice zone 2 to steady effort first, nice long, and zone 2 steady effort. And then if I'm doing VO2 or threshold work, I like to do that after that. And I find that maybe that's a little more specific for me, and definitely for Ironman because it builds that durability. But in terms of bread and butter, workouts, I'm gonna lean into when I was doing 70.3. It was pretty simple: 3 by 20 minutes with a 10-minute rest at 70.3 power. But now with Ironman and getting ready for kind of the group dynamics in Ironman, one that I really like to do is 3 rounds of 40 minutes at Ironman pace, 5 minutes at 95 to 100% FTP.
3 rounds.
Yeah, and then 15 minutes.
Okay, say it again. 40 minutes.
Okay.
40 minutes Ironman, 5 minutes at
40 minutes at FTP. Oh, I lost you. Got to reconnect here.
Yeah, you cut out there, but you're back.
Yeah, sorry. All right. So this is the workout. This is a bread and butter workout for me, and I can progress it throughout the year. So the way that I always do it, it always starts with 40 minutes. So it's 3 rounds. It always starts with 40 minutes at Ironman pace, 5 minutes at 95 to 100% FTP, into 15 minutes at Ironman pace again, with a 15 to 20 minute recovery. And that is like, when I'm fit, I'll do the whole 3 by 1 hour blocks. When I'm getting ready for the season, or when I'm like building that workout, it'll probably start with like 20 minutes at Ironman pace, 2 minutes at FTP, 18 minutes, or just 40 minutes at Ironman pace, 5 minutes at FTP, 15 minutes rest. But we eventually build that up so I'm doing 3 1-hour blocks, and I found that gets me fit, and just like ready to basically, like, it gets me durable, like ready to get those surges for when Jack catches the group that I'm in a time trial race start in an Ironman, and I want to hang with the group for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, it's cool how different that could be, because like I'll do that workout a couple times before an Ironman and be like, that was important, but like, oh my God, I just don't like that type of training that much. It's just the way it is. But hey, this is why it's important to learn about your own, what you respond well to, because if we just kept the same cookie cutter thing, we'd both be doing things we didn't want, and that didn't work for us. But just out of curiosity here, I just pulled up a ride. I've done Alpe d'Huez 114 times. And
That's it?
And there's a lot of like 52, 51, 51, 54, 53, 51. Like a lot of times it's kind of at that, 46, 48, 46, like those tempo to steady efforts.
Yeah. And it's crazy.
Many
it's
times.
Crazy to think that you can hold that power all the way up the top of Alpe d'Huez when you're at that altitude.
Yeah, I know. The altitude doesn't seem to affect me.
Yeah. And like your cornering skills are your descending is so good coming down too, but
I know I can get down, I think, in like 10 minutes.
Yeah. All right. What is your favorite run workout? What's a go-to run workout in a training build?
Man. I haven't even thought about this one. You go first for the run
I'll go first. I did it today. It is the classic Moneghetti on the treadmill. So if you do it right, it is so hard. And the reason that I do it on the treadmill is because it keeps me honest. But also the way I do it is so I turn it into, I believe it's 32 minutes total the way I do it. And the classic Monteghetti is 2 times 90 minutes to start, but I do 4 of them. And the recovery jog, I do at like a moderate effort. So today I did it at about 4:30 per kilometer, but sometimes depending on how I'm feeling, I'll drop that down to like 4:15. And once I've done it at like 4 minute Ks, but you clear like nine in the 32 minutes. You clear like 9K. Jack, you would probably clear 10K easily doing that. But it goes 4 rounds of 90 seconds on, 90 seconds off, 4 rounds of 1 minute on, 1 minute off, 4 rounds of 45 seconds on, 45 seconds off, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, 4 rounds of 15 seconds on, 15 seconds off. And you have to progress each pace from the 90 seconds to the minute to the 45 seconds, 30s. And so on the treadmill, you can start, like, say you start at 11.5 miles per hour and then you go 11.6, 11.7, and like you can kind of build it, or you can start at 12 miles an hour, and if your treadmill only goes that fast, you can go up to 1%, 2%, 3% incline and really push it. So today I got to like 9K, right around 9K for the 32 minutes. And
Nice.
yeah, and you got to close hard, man.
That's
and I was
good.
like, I was getting a stitch, and I was like, I forgot how hard this is, but for some reason I love it. And just the idea of doing it gets me so excited that if I really don't want to run that day, I really don't want to do a run workout, I just do the Monteghetti.
Nice. It's good to have a workout like that. Man, it's getting me excited about running. Talking about running now, I can run. I just did. Um, I've had some big bounds in my running ability with the foot injury, so I started at 6 weeks was the first time I ran. So 6 weeks would have been last Sunday. So right now it's Wednesday, so like 10 days ago, I did my first run. It was 5 minutes at minus 35 pounds body weight and 6 miles an hour. So it wasn't much. And I've gradually built it up. Yesterday, I did an hour at minus 20 pounds body weight with the lever. And, excuse me, and my average speed was 7.9 miles an hour. So, I'm really close to normal running. It's not like I've done any of these runs and been like, oh, my foot, like, you know, it's sore. Like, my foot has been sore, but not in the area that's broken. It's been like the muscles that are just really trying to come back from the atrophy of having 6 weeks of just not really being worked. So anyways, really excited. But favorite run workout? Oh man. It's my favorite one's not really a bread and butter one.
That's okay.
So more of a bread and butter would be like um would be like 9 by like 9 by a mile, but the first one's not hard. And you descend 1 to 3. So you go like moderate, steady, hard, moderate, or like moderate tempo hard, or even like steady tempo hard. And I like it because you view each of the first ones almost like it's almost recovery at like a moderate to steady effort. Like if I'm doing steady even, and I'm like, okay, 3:45 for a mile, it's not really hard. So you're kind of recovering at that. And then you're like, okay, do a good one here at like 3:20, 3:25, and then try to push like a 3:15. And then you really only have to focus on those 2 miles, and you get to rest one again, focus on two more again, rest one, two more. And it's kind of, I like those longer run workouts where so that's 9 miles of work. So like 14 point something K, which I just feel like translates better into race fitness for me when you're kind of pushing some of those longer interval sessions. Obviously you want to do some shorter ones at higher speed too, but, that's a good one for me where I usually get to the end and it feels like it comes quick, but isn't really super taxing. Much, some of those descend workouts where you got to descend down to like a 3 minute pace on the progression. I find that really hard. Like sometimes I'll switch that workout out for something different where it's like if you're doing 1Ks or shorter reps, like, and the last one's like 2 or 3 minutes at 3 minute pace, I have such a hard time getting down to that pace. Maybe it's just like I haven't done enough speed work, but I find that building up, once I get like above like a threshold effort, it's so hard for me to go any faster, even if it's
It's
short.
because you're
Um,
doing it on tired legs, right? And that's kind of the point of
yeah.
that. But then when you come back up, so you do the
Then it's easy.
then it feels easier, right? And you're running more efficiently at kind of your race pace. I found that I used to respond really well to that, and then it seemed like it was the returns were kind of diminishing, and I've gone back to like my midweek workouts, almost like classic 5K work and stuff that we used to do back in the day, and I've begun to respond to that now uh, a lot more.
Like 5 by K,
Yeah,
that
did
workout.
6 by
We gotta at
K.
least mention that
Yeah, I
workout.
did 6 by K
How
the other
many
day. I
times
don't
did
know
we
how
do
many times we've.
5 or 6 by K on 5 minutes? And it's like we just smash them at like a VO2 max effort every time.
I know. I remember running.
Like I used to do that set. Like I remember doing that set on the track at like 255 average at one point, way before I was ever like anything in triathlon.
Yeah,
And I don't know if I could do that now, but I just think we got really good at that workout, and it's a great workout to do. But I think we did it too much at the time, and now I think we could do it more. Like we could kind of
yeah.
balance
But I
it
think
out.
also at the time, that was more of like a strength endurance. It wasn't as much of a speed workout for us. Where now we go back to that, and that's a speed workout. You know, like that is
Oh
yeah, that kind of stuff. Where before it was more strength for us because we didn't have the same aerobic base that we have, and obviously we were racing 5Ks off the bike, um, stuff like
yeah, and
that.
we were racing like every weekend.
Yeah, which
So we get one run workout in on like the Wednesday, and then racing it on
yeah,
Sunday.
which is what you do when you're racing short course, right? Because racing frequently is so important in just developing that and being able to race, and that's why we do it. So, um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
I just wanted to mention one more run workout. I'm really excited about running right now. I can't wait to do these. Um, that is definitely my one of my favorites is 15K over unders.
oh yeah,
So, or is it 10 mile, or sometimes it's 16K, where you do like kilometer on, kilometer like hard at like 3:10, 3:15, and then a kilometer like kind of not really easy at like 4 minute, 4:10 pace. That's a way to cover some distance because I've done that one before, and you look and you're like average is like 3:35 for
yeah.
16K or something. Like
I
it's a
did
pretty
that.
solid
I
workout.
did that 20K worth of it on my long run 2 weeks ago, but it wasn't. I wasn't pushing the Ks that hard. It was more like marathon pace, like open marathon pace, not Ironman pace, but open marathon pace, and then down to like a moderate effort. And I can't remember
Yeah.
what I cleared. Not as fast as when we would do that like 12 or 16K, where you're like ripping a K like just over 3 minutes, and then backing off to like 4 minutes. Um, but yeah, it was good, and it's
Definitely
fun.
not. I wouldn't call it a bread and butter because it's a pretty hard
Yeah,
workout. Like I only kind of do that one like twice a year.
yeah. But I do like
It's
those.
it's a good one.
And then this weekend I've got 4 by 5K at marathon pace, so that'll be fun.
There you go. Can't wait till I can do workouts. I'm probably about. Well, honestly, I'm kind of getting there. I did a little bit of build. I'm probably a week from now I'll be able to start doing workouts. Not like really hard ones, but I'll get like 2 weeks of pretty hard running in before St. Anthony's. So,
Nice.
we'll see. Not going to be setting any PBs,
Yeah, it's
but
funny because I think you should. Did you register for Texas before it closed?
yeah. But I pulled off the list
Oh,
because I'm like this. I just don't want to get off that bike and be like, oh my god, I've literally done like one run of 20K,
yeah.
and now I'm gonna go try it
It
out.
is.
Like maybe I could build up a little more, but it's just
Yeah,
I wouldn't be excited about
I
it.
find I find that it's easier to run an Ironman marathon like decent off of um like than it is to run a 10K fast because that Ironman marathon's more dependent on just like your aerobic capacity because it's really all it is a long run Like it's not like that. It's at the same effort. It's kind of the same speed. It's how strong are you in your long run. Where a 10K, you got to be sharp and you got to be fast and you got to do the specific 10K work. But I find as triathletes for us, that Ironman marathon, if you got nutrition dialed and everything, it almost should be, you should be pretty close to what you can do.
Yeah. No, I think I could run okay, but like I'm
It's
just
the recovery,
because of the fact that it's gonna be such a stacked race and stuff. I'm not getting anything. Like best case scenario day, I'm like 10th, and I'm just not. I'm not excited about going to Texas to maybe get 10th.
Yeah.
It's just not.
And that's fair. And
I'd rather go to St. Anthony's and maybe still like have an outside shot at winning if I like can smash the bike and still pull together like a 33 10K. Maybe. I mean, there's fast boys there who are gonna run like 29 and 30, and like by no means am I expecting to win, but I'm gonna try. And there's and then I gotta get back. I gotta get on that stupid podium, man. I was fourth 4 times in a row or something stupid.
yeah, well, maybe you can pull another fourth.
Yeah, just for the fun of it.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I think that's pretty much. It is what it is.
That's all we got, I think.
That is all that we got. That does not work.
Can we use that?
So that is our outro, usually, but I gotta make it fade in because that is way too loud. If we use it here, yeah. So, anyways, guys, until next time, peace.
I got ish to do, flying through the sky in my parachute, dancing on the couch like I'm Tommy Cruise on a one-man mission trying to see it through.